Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
CL here with you on this Friday, the weekend show. I guess you heard the rumblings that was going on there. Well, that was about is getting straight here to get on the air. There's 5 microphones in this studio. Sometimes the wrong one is turned toward me. I don't know how that happens. There's only one other show, and I think it's a weekly show. That
it's like a big spider web full of microphones in there.
Yeah, that is. And I come in, I sit down, and Jay says, "Hey, we're ready to go. Let's go." And I said, "Okay." And I'm all got everything's in my ear and everything, and all of a sudden I'm not on the right mic. But anyway, welcome to the C.L. Bryant Show. I am certainly glad that you are here with us for this great American journey. Hey, the fireworks continue. The progressive liberals are losing their minds, but that does not stop us from streaming nationwide throughout the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known, from right here in the jeweled cities of the Arklatex, Shreveport, and Bossier. Yeah, from right here in the jeweled cities of the Arklatex, Shreveport, and Bossier. That's my hometown. And, of course, I want to thank our friends in North Carolina, East Texas, and Southern Arkansas for being there for us. Won't be long. We'll be on Red State Radio. We're looking forward to that. We're trying to hook all that up now, and you'll be hearing about it. We're going to make some moves. But anyway, I was talking about not stopping nothing. You know what's amazing? And here I am on the weekend show. It's Friday. We're headed into the weekend. This is the show that we always give you something to take home and think about, along the way and all of that. And so here it is. The progressive liberals, as much as they have tried, think about this. They have tried to move hell, because they have not touched heaven at all. They have tried to move hell in order to bring down this president. And the amazing thing about this president is this one word: resiliency. This is probably the most resilient human being I have had a chance to witness. And certainly I've had the chance now on 3 occasions, could have been 4, but 3 occasions, to actually meet him and sit down and talk with him. We were on a show, as you know, together several months ago, right before the elections, with Sean Hannity. I shared the stage with him, on the same panel with him. And so he is the most resilient individual that I have ever met. And it doesn't seem like and there's nothing that sticks to him. Ask Ted Cruz, ask Mario Rubio, ask Jeb Bush, ask Hillary Clinton, ask James Comey, Rachel Maddow, ask her. She'll tell you. Jay and I was talking about this a little bit earlier. Here she was she had all of the goodies as far as his tax returns were concerned. Come to find out, the guy pays a lot of taxes. Nobody could be mad at him what Rachel Maddow was talking about. Nobody could have been mad at him at all as far as that was concerned. And so here we are going through this situation with James Comey. And personally, I don't think any gloves were laid on him, and I think he goes on. And I think this Comey thing will turn out to be the best thing that has happened to him, because now people get tired of folks, this he said, you said, she said type stuff. Want to move on. As I told you on yesterday, hey, he spoke to that crowd in Ohio. Let's rebuild our roads. our nation. Let's make America great again. And that's exactly what I've been trying to do, he said, in case you haven't noticed. Excuse me. And so I was eating the breakfast, the dinner, I guess, lunch of champions, grunch or whatever it is, champions, these peanut butter cookies. Choke me. But anyway, they're good, though. Shouldn't eat a bunch of them. I can't eat them around Jane because she always likes to get on to me about that. Do you have a wife like that? I know what. We have a president who likes to eat. Clinton loved to eat. I don't know what Obama did. But just the same, I know this. This president is on track to being the most talked about, popular, significant president in our nation's history. You cannot turn on a television channel. I've never seen it happen like this before. I thought you couldn't surpass Barack Obama as far as popularity was concerned. I didn't think you could surpass him. Trump actually has him in the weeds. You cannot turn on a radio, a television, and not hear a reference, even in sitcoms. Late night comedians thought that he would be their muse as far as material was concerned. Hey, I have a feeling that by the end of his first year in office, keep in mind we're just now approaching 150 days, but by the end of his first year in office, not only will our country be on its way back to greatness as we are right now, but I think that even the Democrats, except for that idiot Al Green in Texas, he's drawing up impeachment papers. Oh, boy, but I think he's going to actually turn the Democrats around. I'll be back in just a minute. CL back with you on this Friday here in the jewel cities of the Arklatex. Yeah, I certainly hope you have a great weekend too. Coming up in the show is constitutional teacher. She is an attorney as well. She's on the show all the time. One of your absolute favorites. You want to stay tuned for Chris Ann Hall. And then after her, a good buddy of mine. In fact, his car service, transportation service, is the preferred transportation of the C.L. Bryant Show. Ronnie Remedies of Executive Limousines will be here with me. Yeah, he's going to be here with me, and we're going to talk a lot of stuff that he and I talk about sometimes offline and this and that, but he is a fabulous young businessman. He's not as young as he used to be, but he's young. He's young. I went to school with his dad. So he's young, but Ronnie, both his dad and I had children at young ages. So he's young, but he's not that young. Okay. And so anyway, he's going to be on with me a little bit later on, but he's a fabulous. And if you're needing a night out on the town, if you're needing just to have mom and dad, if they're visiting, or aunt and uncle, if you have some friends in town that you just want to impress, call Ronnie Ramirez at Shreveport Limousine at Executive Sedans. All of that's his. And also, I understand, he'll tell you more about this, that he's going to have these buses, whereas you can do your thing with those too. Ronnie will be here after we are on with Chris Ann Hall. And we're going to talk about the state of our union as far as America is concerned. What does it look like for entrepreneurs in this country, the hope of that in this country? And I certainly believe that there is something here that we ourselves are about to benefit from in this country that we did not see coming, with all of the smoke and gunfire and literally smoke and gunfire literally on the streets of America, and that's going on in our world, and then all of the fake smoke and gunfire that the progressive liberal media creates. It's hard to see just how promising everything truly is. There's a lot of promise in this country right now, but if you listen to them, you'll never see it. If you listen to them, you will never, ever see it. And that's the design. They don't want you to see it. But I do. And that's why I'm glad that you tune in here with me every day. Yesterday in the Ukraine, outside the American embassy, gunfire and smoke. It definitely happened. And here we are in America realizing that we're under assault from people who hate us. And the question has to be, why? Why do they hate us so? And how is it possible that we're breeding all of these homegrown terrorists? I hear that the little girl who, and we call her little girl, she's 25 years old, reality winner, saying to her mommy she's scared. Or reality, you're 25 years old, and the reality is you should be scared. From the ages of 25 to 35 were some of the best years of my life. Even though Jane and I were raising kids, I was trying to get the rest of my education, trying to mop up some of the mistakes I'd made in my life as well. But we were traveling, all kinds of things. Some of the best years of my life were 25 to 35. And then you begin to settle in. From 25 to 35 was some of the best years of my life. And some of you might remember this. Even though I was struggling and trying to make a living and trying to feed my kids and had 2 daughters at the time, it was the best years of my life. She may spend those 10 best years of her life in jail. If I was her, I'd be scared too. Yeah. But this is how that's going to pan out. This is going to pan out. I think they're going to give her the worst possible sentence that they can give her. And they need to do it in order to send a message to anyone else who might try to do it. They need to do it to send that message to anyone else who might try to do it. Although there's thousands of them still within this governmental system. The question is, how do you eradicate? How do you get rid of those moles that are in there? I don't know how you're going to dig them out. It's almost like this illegal alien thing. How do you get rid of them without just tearing stuff down? Speaking of illegal aliens, by the way, illegal aliens are not coming. They're not applying for food stamps the way they used to. No. You know why? They're afraid of getting deported. Some progressive liberals are crying their heart out about that, saying the poor people need food. Yeah, of course they do, and they're getting it. You know how they're getting it? Because they're going down and registering their children for the food stamps. But the application for food stamps in this country is way low. It's fewer and fewer. Illegal aliens are applying for food stamps in this country. Fear of being deported. Now, the truth is, Obama deported a lot of illegal aliens. He deported a whole bunch of them. But they knew how to get under the radar with him. Trump has his tentacles everywhere. Eyes and ears out for him everywhere. I just wish that he'd have more of insight into what's immediately around him. He needs to get rid of some of those folks. I'm CL. Back in a minute.
Get your motor running. Head out on the highway.
CL on a Friday here in the jewel cities of the Arklatex, Shreveport, and Bossier, my hometown. I am your native son. And listen, you've heard the saying, I'm pretty sure you have. You've heard this saying, where there is no crime, there is no freedom. Where there is no crime, there is no freedom. Now, on Monday, we are going to analyze the election in Great Britain. Theresa May, well, we'll talk about that on Monday because that is going to be a heavy topic. What's so amazing about Great Britain and our relationship to them is that right now they seem to be a little bit miffed at us. I think they really did want Hillary to become president, as well as France and the rest of them, Canada. You know, they really did want Hillary to become president. And it seems as though only the Russians wanted Trump to become president. And, hey, I have a feeling there's going to be an evolution in that relationship, or even the way the president talks about Putin. But I am on board with this. And, again, we'll talk about Great Britain big time on Monday and the election that went on there. But I am on board, and you may not think that this is smart. I know that Lindsey Graham doesn't think it's smart. But I think the president is brilliant in saying that we need to establish, if we can, a relationship with Russia. You don't have to trust them, but we do need to have a good relationship with them. I think we need a good relationship with China. A working business relationship. Now, how does that work? It works the same way as any other business, international or national business relationship works. Don't think that the people at Crisco or Wesson Oil don't talk to each other. Of course they do. They may even share information. Not the trade secrets, but they share information. Car dealers talk to each other all the time. and they may be bitter rivals. It's just the way business is done. Radio personalities, we talk to each other all the time, whether we're in a smaller market or a larger market. Radio personalities talk to each other all the time. We wish each other well. We share information with one another, although the competition is always there. That is the nature of the beast. You're always saying to yourself, hey, either he's trying to get up to where I am, or I wish I was where he is. That's just the nature of the business. You're not necessarily envious of it, but in this Putin, America, China thing, there is envy there. I listen, whatever the Lord has given me at this point in time, I'm happy with it. I am working to do something bigger and better to expand my witness as far as he is concerned, because that's the way I look at this. Even though I talk about secular things, wherever I go, whatever I do, I'm a representative of my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. You hear me say that all the time, whether I'm talking about Putin or whether I'm talking about Miley Cyrus. Understand that. So however this goes, I give him the credit for it. But when we're talking about a political type thing, when we're talking about governments, no, you're talking about power. You're talking about power. Yeah. And when you start talking about power, you do actually start talking about envy. Positioning, you start talking about envy. And all of that type of thing, you start talking about envy. And so I think we should have a good working relationship with those who are in the same pool that we're in, because we are in the same pool. There's an old, I think it's old, it's not an adage, you wouldn't call it an adage, but it's an old story. I'll just say it like this, and I'm sure a lot of you preachers may have heard it, a lot of you doctors may have heard it, you military men may have heard it as well. You have 3 guys in a pool of gasoline. And all 3 of them have a box of matches. One of them says, hey, don't mess with me because I have 4 matches in this box. The other guy says, don't mess with me. I have 7 matches in mine. The one guy thinks to himself, I only got 1 match. But it doesn't matter who strikes the first one. You're in a pool of gasoline. And folks, that is exactly the situation that we look at when we think about getting along with those who are in the same pool that we're in. Doesn't matter who strikes the first match. We had better find a bridge to conversation. And yes, the Cold War will continue to go on. The Cold War has always gone on. But the president is right. The president is right. We have to find a way, if we can, to get along with Russia. We have to find a way, if we can, to get along with China, because that little nutty guy in North Korea and the terrorists around the world, they're in 30 countries. And we're going to talk about multiculturalism with Chris Ann Hall when we come up here. I want you to understand the Constitution and multiculturalism. I want you to understand assimilation. I want you to understand what is necessary for us to continue as a nation. Can we long endure as a nation continuing the way that we are? We can't. And with this type of debt, and with the type of lunacy that the progressive liberals are talking about right now, and they'll continue to do that, although I do believe moderate Democrats will begin to come on board because they'll see that it is to their advantage to do so. I think Trump's actually going to turn this whole thing around by the end of the year. You're going to see. You're going to see, mark my word, here on this Friday in June, the president is going to turn this whole thing around. He's going to. And moderate Democrats are going to be on board. You're going to see things happening, deals being made, business deals being made for the betterment of this country that you never thought could happen, because we've had 8 years of absolute stonewalling. The stone walls are falling down. I'm seeing it happen. I saw it begin to happen just yesterday. I'm CL. We'll be right back with Chris. CL, back with you on this Friday, the weekend show, streaming nationwide throughout the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known, from our flagship station here, 710 KEEL and 101.7 FM in the jewel cities of the Arklatex. I want to thank our folks up in North Carolina and those in southern Arkansas and East Texas for coming along on this great American journey with us. On the line with me is one of your absolute favorites. I told you that I'd always have her back as often as I possibly can, but she is so busy now. I just can't get her on as often as I'd like to have her on. But she's going about doing the Lord's work and doing some really good stuff. She is activist, attorney, American constitutional educator, lovely wife and mother, Chris Ann Hall. Thank you so much for being back on with us.
You know, CL, we love you so much. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Chris Ann, for that. You know what? Folks, you may not know this, but she was a former prosecutor there in St. Louis. Let me ask you this question before we get into our true conversation for today. How is the aftermath of the Michael Brown, Trayvon thing, Michael Brown thing going on up there in the St. Louis area? Is there still any backlash going on from that?
I'm not really tied into that right now. We're actually in Florida now.
That's right. That's right.
So I don't even have family left up there anymore. But we know that because of the spirit of division that is being sown throughout America, that these little pinpoints of adversity are never going to go away until we as a people can become united under the things that are important instead of divided under the superficial.
Beautiful answer. Beautiful answer. Let me then ask you this. Let's progress into this. I had really been into dialogue with people about immigration, about assimilation, and all of that type of thing. And there was something that got a lot of response the last time that you were on, and that was your comments and you're addressing the idea of what was how the Constitution looks at the word multiculturalism. And Chris Ann, from your mind and from your insight, I know that you do a lot of teaching around the country. Please share with us here how you deal with the idea of assimilation and multiculturalism when it comes to America.
You know, it's what's important to me, CL, is the foundation of who we are and what we are built upon. And when we talked earlier about that unity, our founders realized that even from the early stages of America, we were built of many different people. Thomas Paine, in his pamphlet called The Crisis, remarked that we were the melting pot even then. And he exclaimed that diversity that we had at that time was actually our advantage, because we didn't have people that were all loyally enslaved to the British kingdom. But he said something that's very, very important, something that we are missing today. He said it's not in numbers that we gather our strength, but in unity.
Wow.
And that unity was for a single purpose, CL. It didn't matter where you came from when you were living in the American colonies. What mattered was your dedication and your passion for liberty.
Wow.
That was the one thing that they were focused upon when creating our new America, and that's the one thing that everybody, red, yellow, black, white, man, woman, all fighting for liberty.
You know, you bring up Crispus Attucks sometimes in our conversations when we're talking about the patriotism and, you know, the birth of a nation and all that type of thing. So when we're talking about the word patriot and patriotism in today's America, Chris Ann, I'm finding too often, and it really it doesn't discourage me, but it concerns me, that young people don't understand what it is or means to be a patriot. Share with us what the founders saw in that. You touched upon it just then when we were talking about unity.
Absolutely, absolutely. Patriotism runs deeper than a flag. It runs deeper than nationalism. Patriotism, in American terms, is the dedication, again, to that liberty, to that knowledge of our foundation that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, and that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed, continuing in understanding that whenever any form of government becomes contrary to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish, establishing new governments that are dedicated to the foundational principles that we are all created equal and all created with fundamental, inherent, inalienable rights.
Wow.
That is the definition of patriotism.
Wow. I've never heard it put any better than that. Then let me, we only got a couple minutes left in this segment, but I want to start this conversation then. How then, with everything in totality, what you have presented to us this morning, how then has the word multiculturalism become some type of racial representation. Is that about race in your estimation?
Foundationally, no. It is not about race. It is about, again, it's about that amazing power of liberty and how it unifies a people. Thomas Paine, once again, in his document, The Crisis, remarked again about how we must be dedicated to this unity and liberty. And in his remarks about citizenship, he remarks that one of the chief principles of citizenship ought to be that a person has proven their dedication and their loyalty to the principles of liberty. And that was, for him, one of the most important aspects of citizenship in America. If you look at the farewell address of George Washington, he spends, I mean, think about this. This is the first president of the United States under our new Constitution. He is having the opportunity, CL, for the last time to address the people of America as their president. These are incredibly powerful and important words. And he spends a great deal of time in his farewell address addressing the warnings to the American people against foreign influence.
Wow. Wow. And how appropriate to close this segment on, because that is the perfect caveat into what we're talking about next. Back with Chris Ann Hall. I'm going to tell you how to get a hold of her to bring her to an area near you when we return. I'm CL. Be back. We're on with Chris Ann Hall, constitutional educator throughout this nation. And I want to tell all of you, I know that she's very busy, but I'm sure she'll work you into her schedule. I'm going to tell all of you that you will benefit your civic organizations, your youth organizations, your police force, whatever you have that is civic-minded in your community. You should bring her in, because she is not only informative, it is in a very entertaining type of fashion. Chris Ann, tell folks how to get a hold of you. And you're working on some new things. I know we can't really talk about a lot of things right now, but you're working on some new things. But tell folks how to get a hold of you.
Well, my website is chrisannehall.com, KRISANNEHALL.com. And we are getting ready to launch a new format called Liberty First University, in which we're taking the classes that I teach on the road and putting them online so that people will be able to view them streaming over the internet. They will have downloadable workbooks to go along with them. We are wanting to duplicate what I do, because CL, I have to turn down speaking engagements.
I know you do. I know you do.
We have so many. And we need to duplicate this. Also, within this program, we're going to be developing a Train the Trainer program so that people will be able to take these classes and duplicate my teaching in their areas, and they can literally become the facilitators of my classes.
Are these good for church groups or any group, right?
Oh, man, they are good for church. They are good for, everywhere I speak now is where they're good for. And I speak to church groups. I teach civic groups. I teach high schools. I teach middle schools. I teach colleges. I teach professional organizations. I've taught professional organizations like the Bar Associations, but also physicians and surgeons groups. People who are interested in knowing how the government is supposed to work.
Yeah.
Anybody who wants to be a part of the solution in restoring the greatness of America, these classes are for you.
These classes are for you, folks, and get a hold of her at chrisannehall.com. Is that right?
That is right. KRISANNEHALL.com.
Folks, do it. I'm telling you, you will not regret that. Now, Chris Ann, you, as we were going out of the last segment, you were talking about how we were to deal with foreign governments. And of course, the big hoopla on yesterday was James Comey testifying in front of the Senate, the Ethics Board. And we saw from him say that there was no collusion between the president and a foreign government, i.e. Russia. Would you give us perhaps insight? And folks, I ask this question in this way because Chris Ann is very familiar with the founding fathers, and in her way of becoming familiar with her, she's familiar with the type of characteristics that they had. In your estimation, Chris Ann, what were they envisioning when they would think of a president like Washington or whoever would come after him, Jefferson, what have you, Adams, as far as colluding with a foreign power constitutionally? What would that mean?
Well, you had differing opinions from different perspectives, but I can tell you, first and foremost, the original intent of the operation of the president is much, much less than the operating and expressed and even desired power of a president today. If you look at the Constitution of the United States, you see it is organized in the beginning as the delegation of power. So Article 1 of the Constitution delegates power to the Congress. Article 2 delegates power to the office of the executive, and Article 3 delegates power to the judiciary. In reviewing those texts just by volume, you see an enormous amount of the percentage of the power delegated to Congress, and yet a small percentage of that power delegated to the office of the president. We have empowered our president in the last 100 years with greater authority than our founders ever intended, ever desired, and even hoped to prevent.
Wow.
The reason that our presidents were delegated so little power is because there was a great deal of concern that the president would become a king. And they didn't want the president to have any power that would even resemble that of the king, because they knew human nature, and they knew that offices of the executive throughout history are prone to increase power. That being said, our presidents were created to be the ambassador on behalf of the state in foreign affairs. So when we think about what an ambassador does, generally, that's specifically what the president is supposed to be doing as a representative of the state in foreign affairs.
Wow.
So in George Washington's farewell address, I think that's probably a very, very good generalized outline on what the president of the United States should and should not be doing in the matters of foreign affairs.
And that is, folks, the long and short of it. We have given this executive office, the executive branch of our government, extended powers that the founders never intended for it to have. Is it then, Chris Ann, related, the extension of that power, is that related to a citizenry that is the reason for him, that expansion, and the reason why the Congress runs roughshod over America, and the reason why you have activist judges? Could it be because you have a less informed citizenry? Was the citizenry at that time more informed? I think we have about a minute and a half, but we want to start this conversation on how to educate and why you do educate our citizenry. Is the ignorance of American citizenry, the American citizenry toward the Constitution, the reason why we're being abused?
Samuel Adams said, "No people will tamely surrender their liberties nor be easily subdued when knowledge is diffused and virtue is preserved." He said, "But on the contrary, when the people become universally ignorant and debauched in their manners, we will sink underneath our own weight without the aid of foreign invaders."
Wow. We will sink under the aid of our own weight without that of foreign intervention. Invaders. Yeah. Incredible. Chris Ann Hall, need you one more block. Stay with me if you can. I'll be right back. This is CL Bryant Show. CL. It is the weekend show. This show does re-air tomorrow and on Monday on our friend station, The Promise. Be sure to tune them in. And, of course, you're listening to the show throughout the fruited plains of the greatest nation on the face of the earth. Download the free CL Bryant Show app onto your iPhone or Android device, and you can listen to us anywhere you need to listen to us. Of course, North Carolina, Southern Arkansas, and East Texas. Thank you for coming along with us on this great American journey. Chris Ann Hall is our special guest, and I do mean that. She is always a crowd pleaser here on this show. Chris Ann, give the folks again how they get a hold of you, and I know you're turning away invitations now, so tell us how to get a hold of you.
My website is chrisannhall.com, KRISANNEHALL.com. And if you want me to come and teach your group, whatever it may be, go ahead and get in contact with us, because even though we have to turn down things, there's often openings in the schedule in your area. And even so, if you don't want to organize your own meeting, go to the website, go to the calendar, CL, and you will be able to see everywhere that I'm going to be teaching. As many classes as I teach, I'm going to be within an hour or 2 hours of where you are. And it's worth the drive. I really, really believe that. When you think about all of the things that those who gave us liberty sacrificed for, I think that we need to have a better perspective on the value of this education. And life, fortune, and sacred honor may mean a 2-hour drive for us just to get inspired, encouraged, and educated.
Absolutely, Chris Ann. And let me say this, folks. She can fit you in. She can definitely fit you in, even though she's in such demand that there are some that she's having to she's having to reschedule. I mean, there's only one person,
Right?
So that's the situation. But Chris Ann, I want to ask then, in lieu of our last when we left out for break, our last conversation on this topic about an uneducated and ignorant citizenry, and how people need to get back to understanding what was intended in our founding documents. Our children. When we think about our children, I don't think are there civic classes in high school now or in junior high? I think civics was in junior high back in the day. Do they have that anymore?
Well, I mean, it depends on how you define it.
Oh.
To be really, they have. I think most of our educational systems believe that if you talk about the Constitution once in K through 12, you're good for the rest of their K through 12. And you and I both know that teaching something just once is never enough. The key to education is repetition. But what's even worse than the dearth of education is the error in education that we are teaching. So we get civics classes that teach lies. I mean, I don't want to be...
Oh, I understand exactly. This audience understands what you're saying.
Yeah, they are flat-out lies. Our education system is now teaching that the foundation of America was laid by a bunch of rich, elite slave owners who only wanted to consolidate power to themselves and continue to oppress minorities and women. We have class textbooks that are teaching that the federal government is superior to the states and to the people in all matters, literally teaching a kingdom mentality to the people of America, which is why I think that most Americans feel so frustrated today, CL, because we have become universally ignorant, not just simply to the limited nature of our federal government, but to the power and the practical use of that power that we hold as members of a constitutional republic.
Let's shed some light on something you've just touched on, Chris Ann. Many people don't understand the freedom, liberty, and opportunity that women have in this country because of our Constitution. You are the perfect person to speak to that. How does the power of the Constitution empower women and minorities in this country?
I teach a class, CL, called The Forgotten Founders, the Heroes of America's Independence. There's a poem, you mentioned Crispus Attucks before, but there's a poem about Crispus Attucks to which the last line is to honor them for I. And that term for a, rather, to honor them for a. And for a meant to forever. And in this class, I teach the beautiful patriotism, the brave and amazing sacrifice of the women that fought for our independence, for our liberty, and the respect and honor that the men of their day gave these women. And I think the best way to really understand the empowered nature of women in America is to understand that we started off empowered. We were dealing with cultural challenges, no less. But when our founders created an America built on the principle that all men, they didn't mean just men, they meant the creation of man as a whole are created equal. They knew that they were laying a foundation for liberty that would be amazing. It would be transformational to the world, where all people, black, white, red, yellow, women, and men, would all be created equally. And what we're missing, CL, in America is this foundational historical truth about who these women were and what they gave for us. And what's even sadder, and I have to tell you, CL, it truly rips my heart apart, knowing how we not only disregard the sacrifices of these women, but how we deny them the honor they are due, because our education system is only concerned about an agenda of lies, teaching that these women didn't even exist.
Wow.
That they were somehow oppressed, and the power of women is embodied in the history of these women.
ChrisAnnHall.com. That's ChrisAnnHall.com. Chris Ann, thank you so much for being with me. God bless you. God keep you. I'll talk to you soon.
God bless you.
I'll be back in just a minute. I'm CL. Hey, man. CL, back with you on this Friday. It is the weekend show here in the jeweled cities of the Arklatex, Shreveport, and Bossier, my hometown. And, of course, we stream live throughout the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known, and that is America. And you know what? I'm all on board about making it great again. That's what really pulled me in. But along with me is a good friend of mine. And Executive Sedans and Shreveport Limousines, if you ever want a night out on the town, the relatives are visiting, you want to give somebody something special and you don't need them driving around and you want to do it in style, you be sure to contact our friends at Executive Sedan Shreveport Limousine. They are the car choice when CL goes out on the town of the CL Bryant Show. Ronnie Ramirez, the owner, is with me. And Ronnie, give them the website, tell them how to get a hold of you and all of that before we go forward with our conversation.
Yeah, ShreveportLimousine.com. Car service, like you said, professional car service. Some of the features that we added a little bit of technology. Now, about an hour before your trip, you're going to get an email with your driver's picture and his cell phone number. You're going to know who's picking you up. And then once your driver, it's like Domino's does with a pizza. When the driver leaves our shop, heads toward your house, you're going to get a text message. He's en route.
Yeah.
And when he arrives, you're going to get a text message that says, "Hey, no rush, but your driver's on location."
That's exactly what's necessary in these days and times, folks. And Ronnie Ramirez, ShreveportLimousine.com, ShreveportLimousine.com. They provide that safety and service. And folks, I got to tell you, it's top notch. It is absolutely top notch. Courteous, dependable, and it is nice. Give them a call or go to their website, ShreveportLimousine.com. Ronnie, I say this almost every time you're on the show, especially since this, for the last 6 months. Anyway, I've been saying, well, it hadn't been 6 months, but we've been talking about this for 6 months. Presidents haven't been president for not quite 150 days. But we've been talking about this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it live. Ronnie, you were right. You were right about this president. You were right about this president. But I tell you something he's doing that's also interesting to you, Ronnie, for those you don't know, is a pilot as well. He is overhauling the aviation. He's wanting to put more planes in the air, and what's up with that?
Well, it's part of his infrastructure overhaul. Many times when a Republican or a conservative takes control, and
folks, there is a difference sometimes between being a conservative
that's right.
and a Republican.
Yeah, that's right. But they go in and look at long-term, fix some of the things that are going to help us down the road. I believe that liberals look at what makes them feel good right now, not what's going to be good for our kids and our grandkids. So he's looking at all the infrastructure things that we've ignored for several years, and he's saying that the air traffic control system is antiquated. If you go up into the tower here in Shreveport, we've been up there. I took my son's Boy Scout group up there. The equipment would scare you. Now, those guys do a great job. They keep us safe, but they're working with equipment that's severely outdated. And that's some of what many times Trump does at his delivery could use a little help. But I think if the core of what he was saying is they're working with an outdated, antiquated system. We just took the plane up to New Jersey. We're having an old Bentley restored for the sedan server, or for the weddings
Really?
clients. Yeah, 1957 Bentley S1. Yeah,
I can't wait to get in that.
But and when you go up to that side, there's so many aircraft that are flying. It's really hard to get on the radio, and so those are some of the things that, because the system was designed so many years ago when not as many planes were in the sky. Okay, but when only rich people traveled in the 60s and 70s, right, and part of the 80s. But now that it's everybody that just about has been on an airplane for one way or another. So. In the AOP, the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association, is really pushing back on it because they're a little bit worried that there would be some impact fees on the general aviation market. But from a business and a government standpoint, if he was to privatize the air traffic control, just like anything else, it brings accountability to an organization. When you can bring accountability to an organization, you always get better service.
And you know what? So, folks, sometimes we don't think about how that has changed and when these types of systems were put in. It was a different world out there as far as aviation is concerned. In fact, the type of Airbuses that we have in the sky right now did not exist in some of these cases when we put these systems in. Let me ask you about this. Of course, yesterday we all witnessed the grilling of James Comey. Looks like little Marco did his best to stand up and ask the right questions in regard to this president, and in regard to this former FBI director. Ronnie, why is it, do you think, that there, or do you see, let me ask the question like this, do you see this beginning to ebb as far as progressive liberal assault on this president is concerned after yesterday's hearing? Was the president vindicated to a point where now he can move on? How are you seeing that shaking out?
I think that throughout his administration, if he gets 4 or 8 years, he can continue to see this sort of attack. He'll have to look over his shoulder. But let's face it, when a liberal or a Democrat is in office, the conservatives do the same thing as what we talked about last time about now all of a sudden some of the people that were saying horrible things about President Obama are now offended that they would say the same things about President Trump. But back to the core of what you asked, I think that Trump will come out of this and continue to move forward. I know that he is a little bit of an emotional decision maker, but I think he balances that a lot of long-term, long-range planning and thinking. So, I think he's probably learned, and he's going to learn to deal with these things and not respond to the media as much as he did before.
Is this personality now that we have in the White House? Because, man, I tell you what, you cannot turn on any news outlet without hearing Trump.
That's right.
Trump. We're going to be back with Ronnie Ramirez, ShreveportLimousine.com. Man, I can't wait to get in that Bentley.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you in a minute. We'll be right back.
Country Jesus, he'll be the blues. That's where I learned my live. Up from coast to coast and line to line, to every county there. I'm talking about that outlaw X is cutting through the air. Anywhere, y'all, everywhere, y'all.
CL, back with you on this Friday here in the jeweled cities of the Architects. It is I, your native son. I'm alongside me now is another native son of this great city, this great Architects area. I know he is. Now, his father and I don't look that much older than him because we weren't that old when he was born. but just the same, I know he is a native son because I know his dad. And he and I went to school together. Ronnie, we were talking about our president, and we were talking about the opportunities that may be in front of us. Now, as a businessman, the type of talk that you hear, we were talking about how he, his conversation and how he does that. The business talk that you hear coming from this, is it conducive, and does it give business people like yourself more security of mind in your state of mind when you see the actions that he has taken so far? Is that conducive to what you would think is good business?
Yeah, and it's caused me and several people that I do business with to make bets on what's to come, and we're buying properties. And I mentioned to you just a few minutes ago about some of the properties that we are acquiring, and we're making a go at it, and we're hoping that everything continues to move forward. But this is why a year ago, when I sat in this studio and you and I were talking about why this annoying, egotistical man wanted to be president, why you thought I would, and it's not because of his flash or because he was a billionaire, because of anything else. But he knows what I face and what you face as a business owner. And when you have people like that at the top setting policy that makes a better environment and easier for us to do business, instead of, in Republican or conservative, when you have people that are career politicians, that all they have to do is bring their budget to zero, then that person can't talk to you about business.
No.
You have to bring your budget to zero and then make some for your family, right?
Yeah, you got to do it.
So that's a completely different mindset when someone's been in the government the entire life.
So in lieu of what you've just said, then he may be good for the local economy, this presidency. Did you have the same type of optimistic outlook, let's say 9 months ago, or before the election, when I could see, I know that you were on board with this president, from the beginning. You were on board with him. Me, not so much.
Yeah.
But I never thought he'd be president. I thought Hillary Clinton would be president.
Yeah.
And so your outlook is much different now as far as going forward.
Absolutely.
Than it was 9 months ago.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Well, and we measure our risk as business owners and entrepreneurs. And if Hillary would have been elected president, I would have still operated my business. But it was just a different set of rules to play by. And you're not going to take as many risks because you know that the top of the government is not on your side. Okay,
Wow.
They do not share your mindset and your philosophy for capitalism.
Right.
Okay, and capitalism is not a bad thing. Anybody that thinks that it is, they probably work for somebody that would disagree with them.
If you were to describe capitalism to a young person, let's say they're in high school, let's say they're about to go into college, and they're buying into this socialist, everybody gets a trophy type of jargon. What would Ronnie Remedies, the owner of Shreveport Limousine, go to shreveportlimousine.com, what would you say about the beauty of, or the pros and cons, whatever, of capital? What would you say to them about capitalism?
Well, that's one of the greatest things about this country is that they provide the best, good or bad, whoever's in charge, the best opportunity for capitalism when you can start your own business and provide a good or service. And no one gets to tell you, no one gets to dictate who does business with you. You have to earn your customers, and you have to service your customers and create value for them. But it is so important that everybody doesn't win, and that's the way in business and bailouts and all.
Right,
that's why
right,
we were
right,
against
right.
that. But so capitalism is the mindset that you are going to be in charge of your own destiny and your own future, and provide a good service to your client for a profit.
And the bottom line on that, folks, is you're doing it in order to profit. And take it from someone, Ronnie Remedies, who is understanding how to be an entrepreneur. He learns the craft, and it is a craft. Is entrepreneurship a craft?
Oh, absolutely.
You have to study it.
And I'm studying every day. I go to seminars and classes, and I'm constantly learning. And I have consultants that I pay lots of money to that really help me take my business to the next level. And absolutely. And when I'm 70 years old, but the consultants that I hire have consultants. They have people that mentor them, and I have people that mentor me.
And that's what's necessary for young people to do as well in order for them to be successful. They need to sit up under a person like you or come alongside a person like you so that they can watch how you do business. Do we see a lot of that anymore, Ronnie?
You know, we have Cohab. We have several of those incubator groups in town, and there's people like me and several of my friends that we will mentor and provide our wisdom. I always tell people when everybody's going to have an opinion on what you should be doing, but you need to look at their track record. What is their history? Not that smart people don't make mistakes, because God knows I've made plenty of them.
The president did.
Absolutely, and he's filed bankruptcy with a few of his companies, but look at their pattern. Have they gotten back up, dusted themselves off, and moved forward, and they implement those same principles for it? So that is what I believe that young people need to look at when they think about, hey, I want to start my own business. It's not for everybody else gets to do the work and I get the money. You have to be, and you know this, you have to be the hardest working person in your organization or it will fail.
Chief cook and bottle washer.
That's right.
You're listening to him right now. But hopefully soon we'll be in a situation where I can hire some other cooks and some other bottle washers as well. And Ronnie, I want to tell you this. A lot of times people don't get a chance to tell you and say thank you to folks who have helped them. You've been a help to me. And you really have. You have been a
thank
help.
you.
You've
I
been
appreciate
a friend to me, and I do appreciate that. I won't forget it. This is something I want you to tell us about. We're going to end on this lighter note. When will that Bentley be ready?
Well, it should be ready for pickup. It's up on the East Coast at the Rolls-Royce and Bentley Restoration Center.
The Rolls-Royce and
that's
Bentley
right, and we have an enclosed truck
Center.
that we're sending for it that's scheduled to be picked up probably on Monday, and it'll take a few days to get it here. But we'll be showing it off and may have CL in the back seat.
I know you will. I'll be happy to get back there. ShreveportLimousine.com. ShreveportLimousine.com. You go there. I tell you, they'll show you a good time around town. I'm CL. We'll be right back.
Love is like a bomb.
Every day. We do it from 5:30 to 7:30, and certainly want you to come along for the ride, the great American journey that we are on. And thank you for being there today. All of our sponsors want to thank you and let you know how much we truly do appreciate you. You will see some transition going on with us. All of you will, as we make the evolution, as we continue the evolution of the C.L. Bryant Show. And I want to thank all of you. Thank all of you for making us one of the most listened to talk shows in the Arklatex area and gaining steam on the national scene as we make that move as well. Now, we were just on with Ronnie Remedies, and he was talking about, the art of capitalism. Capitalism is an art. And our young people need to learn it. And when you have a president who is the author of the art of the deal, I think you need to listen to that guy. That is why I have never understood why the students there at Bethune-Cookman, Florida, were standing up with their backs turned to Betsy DeVos, who is the Secretary of Education. What was that about? Let me tell you why that was so stupid. It was stupid of them because here they were graduating from college, and the question that they have, every one of them, if they have any common sense at all, is, can I now get a job now that I am graduating from college? But what was so foremost and in the front of their mind was them being black. That's stupid. If, in fact, you're wanting to affect the future, you affect that with the content of your character. In other words, what did you go to 4 years of college, get that college degree for? You got that to be black? Or did you get that to make green? Or silver? Or gold? Or the white picket fence? Or the black steel barred fence around your estate? Did you go there to be black? And the question has to be no, unless you are an idiot. No, you went there to understand how to play in the big game. And here you have, speaking at your commencement, a big game player like Nancy DeBose. And you stand up and turn your back on her? Here you have at the top of the heap in this country a president who is the author of a book called The Art of the Deal. You think that deal is only good for white folks? No. The art of that deal, the art of making any of those deals is good anywhere you play. Anywhere you happen to be fitting into this game. Read the book. And also read the book, The Art of War by Sun Tzu. And understand this. When your enemy is angry, irritate him. Now, you may say, the kids who are trying to do this protesting and all this stuff out on the streets, they may say, well, that's what we're doing. We think we have an enemy and we're trying to irritate him. You're wrong. Your enemy is you. You're angry at you. And you're actually irritating the situation that you are in. An angry enemy makes mistakes, and let me tell you, you are making mistakes. An annoyed and angry enemy will flip out. That's not Sun Tzu. That's just common sense. An annoyed and angry enemy, not only will they make mistakes, but they'll actually flip out. You have an opportunity, young folks. I'm speaking to young folks about capitalism. Ronnie Remedies and I were talking about this a little bit earlier. And it is the vehicle that has created the greatest tool for success that the world has ever known. America. It has been a tool for success as far as the Judeo-Christian ethic is concerned, religion, church, whatever your faith happens to be. You can't be more successful in exercising your faith if we keep the lid on terrorists who would want to destroy even that in this country. You can't find a better place in the world to operate your faith than America. You cannot find a better place, whatever your faith is, even if you have none. You can't be a better atheist than you can here in America. You can't. There are atheists who actually make money being atheist. Are you aware of that? I'll be back. We'll talk more about it in just a minute. I'm CL. CL, home stretch of the CL Bryant Show here on this weekend. It is Friday. It is Friday, and I certainly hope you are planning on having a wonderful weekend. Father's Day is coming. I guess I ought to mention that. Jay and I are fathers, and we talk a lot about Mother's Day and all of that, you know. And, of course, we dads mostly look forward to the cologne and the necktie and socks, whatever. Oh, Mom gets the she gets treated like a queen, and of course we get we're grateful for the bottles of cologne and the neckties and the socks and the cards. We're all happy about that. We're happy about that, but it always has puzzled me. It always has puzzled me. How is it possible? And I'm talking about, I'm talking to dads who are dads, okay? I'm not talking to you guys who are not engaged. I'm not talking about engaged to be married. I'm talking about engaged with your children. I am not talking to you, okay? Because you ought to be engaged with those children. If you're not, let me tell you, now, I know there's extenuating circumstances. There can be extenuating circumstances and all of that, but you need to be engaged with your children. They are really the engine that's going to drive your future. You need to put some of you in them. You need to you may say, well, yeah, they're my children, so, some of me is already. No, you need to impart wisdom to them. You need to impart knowledge to them, how to live their lives. That's what you need to do. And one of the reasons why moms, I think, get so much more attention than dads do is because they are now having that role of disciplinarian in so many cases, breadwinner in so many cases, and structuralist. They're structuring, and dad's not infusing the type of wisdom and knowledge into his children that he once did. Not to knock you. I'm not trying to knock you, but I'm telling you, there's something wrong with our society. And a part of what's wrong with our society is the lack of male leadership in the home. You can't deny that. Get mad at me if you want to, but you can't deny that. And if you're angry at me for saying it, then maybe that's, take a closer look at yourself. Maybe you get angry enough to do that, and I hope it's good for you. But men, we have a responsibility now, and I know I'm speaking to a crowd that's not politically correct, but I do believe the role reversals have to correct themselves. Not saying that women have any type of subservient role or anything of that nature, but there is a special role that only a woman can play in the life of her children, and there is a special role that only men can play in the life of their children. Now, whether you're a surrogate father or whether you have a blended family does not matter. There's still a role that the testosterone plays, and there's a role that the estrogen plays. That is the viva la différence. That's why there's a difference. From the beginning, the Creator wanted us to understand that there is a distinct difference in the influences that male and female has on the future society. And he even put it into us chromosomally and into us hormonally with testosterone and estrogen. And if a child is exposed to an overbalance of one and an underbalance of the other, there is an unbalance. Now, I'm not a hormonalist or anything like that, but it's just common sense. I mean, there are some things just common sense. Obviously, there's a reason why you have male and female. But, of course, that narrative by design, by progressive liberals, by people who want to fundamentally change America, even that definition is trying to be undermined. Can't you see? Don't you see? That even with this thing yesterday with James Comey and all of that, that was a much ado about nothing. Are you hearing me? There was much ado about nothing. Did the president try and persuade, or did he tell you to stand down on the Russian issue? Comey, no. Did you tell the president 3 times that he was not under investigation? Comey, yeah. Just to paraphrase Comey. I'm being Comey. Yeah and no. Much ado about nothing. You are spending money on a special investigator who has nothing to investigate. Of course the Russians tried to influence our election. They always have. Going back to Nikita Khrushchev. This is not news. But you're paying for it. Fake news. I'm CL. Be back in a minute.
We chased our pleasures here, dug our treasures there.
If you had not have fallen, then I would not have found you. Angel flying too close to the ground.
Well, we've come to the close of another week. Hey, I'll be up in Nashville tomorrow. I'll be up in Nashville tomorrow doing a training session with some of our activists. Our portion of our 6.2 million, won't be that many there, it'll be about 200 there in the Nashville area, right outside of Nashville. And it's a suburb of Nashville. And folks, you make sure that you do what Thomas Jefferson said. And I remind you of this daily about this time of the day, Monday through Friday, 5:30 to 7:30, daily, to be eternally vigilant, because that is the price of your liberty. That's the price of your liberty, eternal vigilance. And also, I want to thank our guest today, Chris Ann Hall, constitutional educator, and she is one of the great teachers. Chris Ann Hall, that's with a K, Krisanne, chrisannhall.com. Go there, invite her to come out and reveal some jewels that are contained in your American Constitution. You'll love it. And my good buddy, Ronnie Ramirez, and hey, all of us now are waiting for this Bentley, this restored Bentley, to show up here in the Arklatex area so we can rent a ride, lease a ride in that Bentley. ShreveportLimousines.com, ShreveportLimousines.com is how you get a hold of him. Well, as I stated, I do believe that we have a chance now to get back on course, to quiet some of the lunacy that's been swirling around this new presidency by putting an end and a stop to some of the talking points that those who don't know what they're talking about have been putting out there. They don't know what the president told us from the beginning. They didn't know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're talking about. It's fake news. The former head of the FBI has concluded it's fake news. Let's end the week on that. But let's be thankful every day. Thankful to God for bringing us to the close of yet another day. And our men and women in uniform around the globe who defend our right to speak our minds. And until I'm able to talk to you again, may God bless and keep you all.
We'll stand by your side, and the